My name is Stephanie Wells. I am a student at the University of North Las Vegas. This project was produced for Sociology 101, Section 1003, Principles of Sociology. The title of this video is Conflict in the United States. The topic which is of interest in this project is that of class stratification within the theoretical framework of Karl Marx conflict theory. The key concepts that will be used are social control, deviance, consumerism, and social mobility. Using the online sociology guide, one finds that according to Karl Marx, in all stratified societies, there are two major social groups, a ruling class and a subject class. The ruling class derives its power from its ownership and control of the forces of production. The ruling class exploits and oppresses the subject class. As a result, there is a basic conflict of interest between the two classes. To gain a better understanding of this distribution between classes, the image shown by Bruce Watson will provide better insight. This graph shows wealth distribution within the U.S. According to SparkNotes.com, estimates say that approximately 20% of the population could be classified in either the working poor or poverty level categories. This is indicated by the dark blue and light blue figures in the graph. The working class makes up about 30% of the population. This class is indicated by the top light blue to the green figures found on this graph. The middle class, indicated by the orange and lower red figures on the graph, includes about 34% of the population. The category called new money is a relatively new rung on the social ladder and makes up about 15% of the population. These 15% are found within the red figures on the graph presented. The upper class, which makes up about 1% of the U.S. population, generally consists of those with vast inherited wealth. This class is indicated on the graph by the single dark figure with the text, the 1%, next to the figure. As seen in this image, if land were divided based on wealth, it would look something like this. This division of wealth is known as social stratification. Sociology, 6th edition, describes social stratification as the division of nations, as well as the layering of groups of people within a nation. Social stratification refers to a hierarchy of relative privilege based on property, power, and prestige. Social stratification can be seen through the breakdown of the average hourly wage that certain class groups have over other class groups. This image clearly defines the stratification between the minimum wage earner, median wage earner, and an average CEO wage earner. How is this social stratification linked to the conflict theory, one may ask? The lower pay that an owner can give for labor means the more profit the owner can get out of the labor he pays for. One may wonder in a capitalistic society how the bottom rung of the ladder would not just take over and climb to the top. However, capitalism works by keeping those that are poor working for the rich, so the rich can stay rich and get richer. This is done through what is known as social control. All groups develop systems of social control to punish deviants. Deviants are those who violate their norms. Violators can expect to experience negative sanctions for the violation of norms. Not only does social control play a role in keeping America's patriarchy, but consumer choice also plays a role. Bourdieu argues that tastes are socially conditioned and that the objects of consumer choice reflect a symbolic hierarchy that is determined and maintained by the socially dominant in order to enforce their distance or distinction from other classes of society. For Bourdieu, taste becomes a social weapon that defines and marks off the high from the low, the sacred from the profane, and the legitimate from the illegitimate, in matters ranging from food and drink, cosmetics and newspapers on the one hand, to art, music, and literature on the other. Not only does the lower class become slaves to consumption and conformity, but the choice of what to consume or what to conform to has already been chosen by the elite. Bourdieu theorizes that even social mobility is a vehicle to keep each class in their group, generation after generation, creating a perpetual circle that won't break. Sociology 6th edition describes social mobility as movement up or down the social class ladder. Most believe social mobility can be achieved through education within an institution to move up the social ladder. But Bardot argues that rather than acting as social mobility escalators for the more talented members of ethnic racial minorities and the white working and middle classes, the educational system has a strong tendency to reproduce the existing social order by devaluing the cultural capital of dominated groups. As a result, those who can appropriate elements of legitimate culture as their own have the power to define the status of all other cultural forms. This image displays a representative ladder of social mobility in the U.S. as compared to Germany, Canada, and Norway, allowing better insight into Bardot's reasoning. All of these concepts being shared within the theory of conflict between classes. Through the understanding of what the conflict theory is and how it relates to social stratification in the United States, it is not hard to reason that the stratification gap is large. Social control is worked into the general population so that if a person goes against group norms, they become a deviant. Those that do conform believe they have a choice, but as Bardot argues, they have the choice given to them by the power elite. This hierarchy of class distinctions is thus promoted and repelled by educational institutions.